Hey guys, it's Nova, and we're doing another trace design today. A quick note, I'm not sure how the audio is going to turn out. It might turn out a little bit tinny. It did last time. My mic has been acting up, but at least currently, getting a new mic can't be top priority. I've been having issues with my current PC build, especially in regard to trying to keep up with my art stuff. So, trying to finish that is going to have to be priority. If I have to, I've done audio recording on my phone before, and it actually didn't turn out too bad, especially once I edited it. So, if I have to, I will switch to phone audio. If I don't have to, I'm going to keep using the mic as much as I can, but I did want to let you guys know because PC has to take priority. Because without it, I can't do my art or render my videos, and that's going to cause a big problem. Mic I can manage, but it can't take priority right now until I get my new PC built. But now that we've covered that, let's talk about the art. So I've drawn Willow before, but only for a sticker, a print, and a pretty portrait where she's dressed up in performance costume. And I like those, but they haven't really given me a chance to nail down her design for her civilian form, just casually. They've been more, very clearly dressed up, very clearly done in a specific way. And for the print design, I could have done a bit more of a casual design, but at the time, I hadn't sat down and really worked on that part with her. And now I'm glad I've really gotten a chance to. In particular, I really wanted to draw like her casual civilian form, like for when she's attending classes, and I did want to work on her magical design as well. And the original intention, like with the video about Linden, was to do both the civilian and magical designs in the same video. I ran into issues because my elbow is still giving me trouble, as well as time constraints. With my elbow acting up the way it is with my current art setup, whenever I sit and work on things for too long, it keeps my elbow bent, and it causes a bit more pain and a bit more difficulty, and overall, the entire thing just makes me draw slower. Because of that, and because of drawing slower and the soreness, I couldn't get both done at once. Now that said, that means we know what to look forward to next week. We're gonna have her magical design. So, it's going to be done later. Honestly, I'm actually kind of okay with that. Frankly, there needs some more work done on her first concept for her magical design, because all of these are first concepts, and first, defined concepts. So having more time to really focus on that is honestly a bit of a positive in the end. And I do also have to note just a little bit, like I said, that Trace is still pretty early development. Most of these designs could be subject to change further down the line, especially the magical versions, as I outline exactly how I want to draw the magical characters and versions for everybody in this. Because this is really my first foray into magical character design in regard to, magical girl transformation stuff. So I did want to let you guys know that the magical design will be in the next one. This one we're talking about her civilian design and her as a character. So before I get into talking about her as a character, I'm going to do a few notes about her design, talking about the design itself. Her posing in this one, a lot like I did with Linden, is very simple, but unlike Linden where that just kind of happened, this one is very intentional in the way I drew her. If she's just hanging around having a coffee, like the one in her hand, she's the type to stand with her back straight, her shoulders back, and all of that. And a lot of that is because she's a very disciplined character. She focuses in on dance. You can tell by her casual clothing, she focuses in on dance and ballet. That leaves her with a lot of discipline. She keeps her posture fairly rigid. It's just kind of a side effect. And honestly, I really liked designing her and drawing her as very slender and long-limbed. She's not very curvy. She doesn't have much of hips or chest or a butt. But since she's a dancer, I do really like that, especially since her focus is ballet. It just, when you see ballerinas, they're usually more slender, more long-limbed and graceful, and she is very much that type. And admittedly, yes, the idea of her being tall and slender and willowy came before her name, and that was completely why I chose the name Willow. for her. That was completely intentional, and frankly, I regret nothing. I will say her hair, the other times I've drawn her hair's been properly pulled back in like that very tight ballet bun that doesn't have any really stray hairs other than, I let her bangs fall for a bit of style. Her fringe kind of come out the way it's parted, just for a bit more stylistic flavor. But for the most part, I've done her hair just in that tight, strict bun that stays all nice. But I do think that when she's not in performance clothes or working or something of the like, she goes for a typical messy bun with a few stray strands, and I think it adds a little bit of character to her. Yes, she's a very put together and disciplined character, but even sometimes there are things that she likes to do where she's like more relaxed and lets herself seem more relaxed. And also, I really like doing a different shape for her nose than I have for many of the other characters so far. I draw like a lot of the little button noses on characters pretty frequently. I'm aware of that. That's something I'm trying to get away from and learning to differentiate in my style. Because I actually really like different and stronger features on characters. That has been something that I've really always liked. And I think it's fun to see what other aspects of a character that we can see. And that's really fun, the way people look different, because some people have closer set eyes, some people have more wide set eyes, some people have different shapes of noses. And I like being able to play with that and differentiate that, and I need to start representing that more in my characters, because I try and differentiate body types at least a little bit. It's a little harder when I do my chibis to do that, because, you get the squishy, tiny characters. But for their basic designs, I do like to try and vary body types at least a little bit. It's like whenever I do the concept for Poppy, you'll see that she's a little bit heavier than some of my other characters. She's very curvy, she's a bit more thick, and I think she's very pretty. And I like that she's more curvy and she's a little bit heavier. That was decided pretty early on, even when I was just doing silhouettes, because I like that for her. She's a strong character who is a bit just curvier and a bit bigger, but she's also like mostly muscle. And if you look it up with athletes of different kinds, you'll see muscles carried in different ways depending on what you do, but also just because body types are going to distribute fat and muscle differently. That's why some people can work out and still be really slender. Sometimes that just happens. And others can, work out a little bit and they're really bulky. It's just the different ways that bodies actually process things, and it's really fascinating, honestly. But design-wise, with the clothes, I looked up a lot of casual ballerina clothing, like the kind of things they would wear to practice. And I think that ultimately her preference in general is to wear that sort of thing and be comfy at all times if she's not actively, going somewhere where she needs to dress up all nice and be pretty. She does not at all enjoy clothing that's not easy to move in. If it's restrictive, she doesn't really care what the fashion is currently. If it's restrictive, she's not going to wear it. If she can't move easily in it and still be graceful, it's something that just is not for her, and she's very comfortable with that. And to bridge the gap of talking about design versus talking about the character herself, we have a design note that actually kind of doubles as a character fact. If you look at the design, especially doing the details, Willow does have a slight bit of an Adam's apple. Now, quick note before I get into the why. AFAB people who were born and assigned female at birth, can have an Adam's apple. An AFAB person with a deeper voice really commonly might have an Adam's apple, because the vocal cords develop more prominently when your voice is deeper, and cause the Adam's apple to be more prominent when someone just has a deeper voice. The reason I give that explanation of what it is because I have genuinely had to explain to someone before, actually several people, that the Adam's apple is not a bone in the throat. I am not kidding. I have had to explain that before, and I had to explain that it's not a bone in the throat, it's your vocal cords, it's from your vocal cords. But getting back to Willow specifically, a few people might have guessed, especially going through this, but she is trans. She's very comfortable in her skin now, but obviously she wasn't always, and she went through some rough time with her identity when she was younger. Fortunately, her family's extremely supportive. That part of her character isn't really a conflict for her currently. It was a past conflict, but it's not going to be a feature conflict in Trace because I don't really want that kind of thing to be a prominent conflict. Not for any, particular, I don't want to offend anybody reasons, but for the reason of, I like the idea with my comic world for Trace in particular, that it's just something that's not an issue. I like that a bit more, and that lets things just be. And I like that, and it's kind of nice to imagine a world like that. So, that's not going to be a focus of her character, but it is just a neat little character fact that I really like. So now I feel like giving that little character tidbit kind of gives us a great segue into talking about her as a person and as a character. Now, quick note with all of this is despite Hazel and Hawthorne being the technical main characters, Willow is actually going to be the team leader. Willow is a very decisive character. She is someone who thinks very quickly on her feet, and when she makes a decision, she's going to commit and stick to it. If it doesn't work, and it was the wrong decision, she's going to own that, but she's going to make a decision and stand by that decision until it's shown to be the wrong decision. Now, that's not to say she's not open to listening to other people, because she is. It's just, she's not one of these who's going to hem and haw and waffle back and forth between two different things, going, which one should I choose, what's the better idea, what things are. She thinks quickly enough that she's going to analyze the situation and pick what she believes to be the best option of the situation. And another reason with that, with her becoming the leader of this group, is she's a year or so older than a few of the others, so she fell pretty quickly into the leadership role, being one of the oldest ones. And I think that just helps solidify it a bit, because it's not uncommon for, even in college, if you've got a group of friends, sometimes the younger ones are going to follow the lead of the older ones. That's not uncommon. And admittedly, I will say, I did have a little bit of inspiration there from Sailor Moon, of all things. Well, I didn't pay much attention to it until I was an adult, because Sailor Moon was not my thing. It was more my sister's thing than my thing. I do know, even though I didn't pay as much attention to it when I was younger, that at least initially, Sailor Moon herself didn't fall as much into the leadership role as the team first came together. Largely because Venus had been at the superhero thing longer, going under, referred to as Sailor V. And she was at it longer, so for a bit, she was doing the whole take charge thing, and was the more take charge and lead kind of character. And I do like in Sailor Moon that there is some headbutting over that. There's not really going to be headbutting in this, largely because in the group with this, the difference between Trace and Sailor Moon on that front is that Willow was meant to be the leader. She was created as the character who was meant to be the leader. She's not going to so much butt heads in that regard over individual choices and situations. Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be some, headbutting and conflict, because we love some good character development conflict where two people aren't seeing eye to eye. Both of them might learn a lesson. I love that kind of stuff. Give me that. And I don't mean the kind of conflict where you just want to bang their heads together and be like, if you two would talk about it. We're not doing that. It's going to be genuinely one of those things of people who don't see eye to eye on a thing and have to come to a compromise. I like that kind of dynamic. But it's not going to be butting heads in regard to who's going to be the leader. And I will go into a little more of the symbolism when I do the video actually about her magical design. But her associated creature, just to let you know, is a griffin. And whenever I was looking up things, I have seen some things about griffins being associated with leadership. And I chose that one for her. Her element is wind, by the way, to let you know. Because I knew, just from the second that I conceived the character, that she was going to be the team lead. Also, going with the griffin, I will admit, is a little bit of an option that I went with as a treat for myself, to have somebody have the griffin as their creature, because Griffins make me think of Dragon Age, and the Wardens, and just, I love Dragon Age, and yes, I couldn't resist the idea to do a Griffin. But getting back to character notes, like everyone else except for Clover, Willow's in college. She is a performing arts major with a focus in dance, and I feel like that makes perfect sense with everything I've described so far for her character. I'm still fully fleshing out her hobbies and her as a character, as I am with all of them, but I will say that another of her hobbies is that she also really enjoys baking and cooking. Because I always like having at least one character in there who really likes to bake or cook, and one of the group I guarantee is going to be the one who couldn't boil water without somehow making it explode. Because I also like having one of those in there. I like having someone in there who's a great cook, and someone in there who couldn't cook to save their life. They couldn't manage to find their way through a kitchen if you paid them. Another note though, don't come anywhere near her before she's had her coffee in the morning. In the morning time, she'll drink like 1 cup of standard hot caramel flavored coffee, and then she has, as the day goes on, at least 1 iced coffee throughout the day. She's very grumpy without her caffeine, and she really likes it. She does stay hydrated and drink plenty of water. She's very conscious about that, but she likes her coffee. But essentially that just gets us to summing up overall what I have so far with her, and giving you all the rest of her current information. Willow is a headstrong character. I think I've mentioned that and defined that at this point. She's a very determined and disciplined woman who has been in ballet since childhood. Now, she did play some other sports. She was a very rough and tumble child. She was definitely into sports and has always been very active. As such, she can handle herself in a fight, which is good considering that this is a magical girl story. But while she did play some other sports, dance and ballet appealed to her most because of the passion in it. She tends to be a natural leader, and while she's good at reading social situations and navigating them, she's honestly a little more of an introvert. Being around her friends honestly recharges her social battery, but those outside of her friend circle tend to drain it. And she enjoys spending time with her friends where everyone is just hanging out, but sort of doing their own thing. That might be taken a little bit from me and, like, my family. A lot of us will hang out sometimes, and we will all be doing our different things. And it's actually kind of a lot of fun. It's very refreshing. It always has been, and I like to have a character that is similar. Now, she also really enjoys classic lit and just reading in general. Now, the funny thing with that is the classic lit, she does like reading, but she is absolutely weak for contrived romance novels. She loves those. She is completely weak for contrived romance novels. Just the trashy ones that are just, like, poorly written, but full of so much drama and ridiculous absurdity. She loves those. If she encounters that situation in real life, she would put a stop to it quicker than you could say hi. But she loves reading about fictional characters doing those kinds of ridiculous things. She just loves them. It is a guilty pleasure for her. Now, despite her introverted personality, Willow tends to completely come alive on the stage. Whether it's practice or a performance, Willow blooms in brilliantly and gracefully in dance, pouring everything of herself into her movements. That's the reason that she loves dance so much. She doesn't like to express herself through words. She'd much rather express herself through movement and music. And as a final little character note, because I think this is a funny little detail, and I really like it, and I love characters like this. When she isn't practicing or performing, her casual music taste is completely different from what you would expect. If she offers you an earbud and you accept it, you are going to be suddenly blasted with the most heavy, screamo, death metal music you can think of. That is just her guilty pleasure and a little bit of a side passion that is just completely removed from what she would usually expose herself to and experience. And there's just something about it that she absolutely loves, especially if she's aggravated. Listening to heavy metal is extremely cathartic for her. And genuinely, I love it because I think it catches everyone off guard whenever anybody tries to go, oh, what are you listening to? And then suddenly they're deaf. So it's a fun little detail. It's one that I really, really like. But that's what I have so far with Willow. I love her already, and I really hope all of you will like her too. Thank you guys for tuning into this video, and I'm glad that everyone seems to be enjoying these character discussions. And I'm really looking forward to sharing more and more about Trace. Like I said, I know my mic is a little off, and I'm going to work on fixing that as soon as I can, but, you know, priorities. PC's gotta take priority. Sorry, I will do my best with the audio until then, but we'll do what we gotta do. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of you so, so much. If you have anything in particular that you want to see from me, let me know. It doesn't matter if it's maybe mermaid fan art like I did for Mermaid. We've got June and Pride Month coming up. I will be doing a couple pieces for that. A couple of them will be Trace. I'll try not to give away any shipping spoilers, because I do have some of that stuff planned out. But I will try very hard not to give away any shipping spoilers. But again, let me know if you have anything in particular you want to see, and a special thanks to my patrons on Patreon, Inside Chaos, Salmon, and Creativa Artly. You guys are wonderful, and so is everyone watching this video. Honestly, guys, just thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!